example, if you want to keep consistency in one terminology, coherence and consistency in one text, they didn't even know that we have database and terminology resources, and I think that we have profited from them.
Actually, sorry, just to interrupt you.
Yeah.
With UNAIDS, we presented a project to the Spanish Cooperation Agency, and we earned money for that, for translating the Spanish website, the UNAIDS website into Spanish, and that allowed us to buy SDL travels for traineeships, to have a dedicated server for that, and now students working for UNAIDS, we don't translate, we translate most of the website into Spanish. That, I think, was a very important development as far as giving information about AIDS to the Spanish-speaking world. And now our trainees in Salamanca, they work on against a server. I mean, they have remote translation memory access, and I think it's very rewarding. So again, there are different ways of getting students at universities paid, and making the organizations understand that this is, in a way, this is going to be professional work, and they need qualified work. And UNAIDS gave us some money as well last year for the project, and so we can hire a former student who would coordinate our other trainees, who would prepare and would manage and maintain translation memories and terminology for the project.
I just wanted to respond to this idea about volunteerism. I think nonprofits would love to be able to buy and to pay. That nonprofits aren't in a position to do so. We don't have the budget of Microsoft, right? And that you also have to then find people who are in themselves a privileged position that they can contribute. You know, someone is paying for that person's time. Maybe it's a grant, maybe it's a parent who's got money, you know, maybe it's a professional life that can afford then to give some kind of contribution. So it's not free. Like you need.
I think that it's not all about money, because just to support what Lucia said, that I've also done some translations for a publishing house in Madrid to translate some chapters together with a friend of mine for a history book, and it was a real hard job, and I know that I was going to be paid, but it was not the same as working for an international organization or the NGO. I feel more comfortable working for free than for 500 euros and doing not so direct connection with them, and it was different.
I do like that share volunteering as well.
Well, again, very nice. And I think we should be, is there anything else here that maybe worth
Do you have a website for your organization or your NGO?
Well, it's not my organization. I created the website when I modified it. It was there over the years. It's not finished, the website. We have the Afghanistan, is the traditional, the African is not finished, and this is the NGO that I built and our students localize into. That's how in English and French. Very nice for students to learn about this JavaScript things in localization. It is acafnet.org. Again, it has the
Sorry, but on the website from the University of Salamanca, is there any part of the university? You don't have it on the server?
about traineeships.
Yeah.
We don't have a particular. That's a good idea as well.
Oh, there is a book. Oh, okay.
How many students would you have in any one term or semester or whatever you do on traineeships?
I'd say around 40 students.
Okay.
40.
And it's a credited module or whatever you call it, yeah? So they get credit for this?
Yeah, they can get 6 ECTS. It will be six.
And has your university acknowledged the workload involved in that for the actual lecturers, or are they?
We wish.
You know, how do they calculate the teaching input or the?
They're underpaid in credit, in workloads. I mean, they work a lot, our supervisors. I am the coordinator. I do some certifications sometimes, and we have coordinators for English into Spanish, Spanish into English, and into Spanish, Spanish, French, German, Spanish, Spanish, German. And sometimes I have to work a lot. But again, what we tell our students is your tutors, your lecturers are not your main revisers. You should try and learn to revise your own people in your own team, or to directly contact the organization, the client, to actually negotiate meaning and to negotiate things. But yeah, it's not well recognized.
I'd say that's fairly typical.
Yeah. Any more? Well, sustainment through technology, as I said earlier, with some organizations, students use the technology, and then the technology vendor would sell the technology half price to the NGO, so the NGO can buy that for the students, and they can keep that for their professional life. We have this agreement with Atrio for Deja Vu, and it's working quite well because students really like that. Students are themselves sometimes uncomfortable with being paid sometimes, so they say, oh, this is a very good evening in cash, so it's a very good solution. Having them rewarded with the tool they used.
You were going to talk about open source tools as well?
Oh, yep. Now, would you, I suppose most of you would say, okay, you're working with NGOs and organizations, so why don't you use open source software? What do you think? Would you use open source software as a principle?
I can tell you, we generally don't. And the reason for that is that the people who maintain our computer labs don't like it. They won't be able to like demo software, they don't like open source, or anything that we don't have a license where the terms are very clear. Yeah.
We have an open source department at the university now, so we will try and work with them, and Maria Brander is very much involved in open source with tools with in interpreting training. But
But we don't. I mean, for our traineeship, we don't use open source software. Well, we have our reasons for that. We usually work with traders, with Deja Vu, with Link-a-bit, because we have managed to get these free licenses, at least for the traineeships, and as we want to guarantee the best education for our students, we are giving them training in the top tools in the professional market. So they're going to use these tools if they want later on. So they are getting they're getting really familiar with how to use these tools. Then the open source software is more or less new now, so they are not familiar with it, nor are the teachers. Maybe it's our blame, it's our fault, but we are not really comfortable using them. Then we have, when we have tried to use them, we have noticed that they are behind in some functions. For example, the linguistic management or technology management.
I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah. Well,
And also they don't support, they don't provide support. So if you have a problem with travel, you can always call them.
And I think we find it very important. They're not as usable as other tools, and that's very frustrating because some of our students they're not very good with technology. So if they have a tool which is difficult to use, that's chaotic. That's a disaster. We do try to work with project managers. Some students who had taken my